Hey guys, Patrick Mahomes here. Trav, how's it going, folks? Blasted your eardrums to start it. It's been a long time since we've talked about earnings reports that you need to watch for this week. And you don't know what? I came back at a great time. You don't know what? That's what I said. We've got a fantastic week here loaded with beautiful earnings. It is what I have dubbed, this is my term, no one steal it, Tech Week. All these massive, massive tech companies reporting. Obviously, there will be more reporting next week, but this is like the big of the big ones here, right? Most of the magnificent seven reporting this week. So, hey, with that said, let's get into this. There's a lot of them to talk about. I got a lot of things to look at. Um, we can only focus on so many in total. Yeah, I've really got just about three or four that we're going to look at in depth. We'll talk a lot about all these, though. So, Monday, I gotta be honest with you. I'm not as excited on Monday. There's nothing that sticks out to me as necessarily anything, wild. I mean, we start off with SoFi before open Monday. We kind of get some of the laggards of the financials here at the start of the week. Now, SoFi obviously um, is one of those, fancy high tech companies that is a banking finance company. So who knows? I don't follow the stock much. It's a pretty garbage stock. Um, One of those ultra volatile, man. That's not what you want to be in if you're in the financial industry. I'll just tell you that in terms of um, investing in financials. That's just my opinion on the matter. Hey, some people have probably made a lot of money on SoFi. I just stay away. Franklin Templeton again. We get more financial here. We've got Alliance Medical Partners here. Or sorry, Alliance Resource Partners. I'm so just apologetic. I don't even care what you are, Alliance. I don't. The Bank of Marin. Bank 7 sounds similar to that of a potentially a 7-Eleven. Would you like to open a checking account? I don't think I can say that. I don't think I can say that. Sometimes they do call you though up on your phone and they ask if you want to open a checking account. Ask for those really just a good social security number. And I've given it to him a couple times, waiting on the banks to be opened. What's going on? I gave him to it a year ago and he's never opened up my bank account. Habib told me he was gonna open it. It's kind of upsetting. Anyways, we got Phillips. Um, Still disturbing always. I believe that should have two L's up in that mug. It doesn't. Um, I don't know what to say about a company like Philips. It just feels boring to me. It's like trying to go in depth on like Stanley Black and Decker. We know what the company's about. It's just not, I don't know, toothbrushes and other like equipment and I don't know. Nothing crazy there. Uh, Pacific Premier, Bancorp, Providence, Provident Bank, not Providence. Don't get messed up. Then we go after close here into Super Micro. Um, how about the Cleveland Cliffs, I believe, and then Nucor following them. I don't follow that one. I think that the Reddit gang might follow Nucor a little bit. I think that's old news, though. People don't talk about it. We got Brock Lesnar's finisher right after. F5 Networks never not one that's really impressive to me that I care about. Celestica, Whirlpool, throw you in there with Philips. I don't much care about you. I mean, obviously, you got some great washers, you got some great dryers, you got some great dishwashers, you got appliances. I mean, it's good for you, but there's nothing really to say about them. I don't know. Um, Crane, two harbors, Alexandria and why would I even say that short? Just Capital Southwest Corporation. Who cares about them? I don't. Um, Tuesday, though, before open, we're going to start here. We've got the Pfizer. Believe it or not, Mr. Pfizer could be playing in the Super Bowl this year. Could be big for him, right? Two things at once. You could get your 18th, maybe 19th booster. Up to you. It's up to you. Anyways, no one was getting them, so they had to throw out a giant millions of doses of the vaccine that is not um, actually effective at stopping it. So people just stopped taking it. Um, Anyways, we've got GM following them. I am excited to see this because it's really the first of these automakers that's going to be reporting. Um, Obviously in this quarter was a time in which they had that big workers' strike, basically shut them down for a darn near month, and that's no doubt going to have an impact on the bottom line. We're going to see deliveries delayed here, production obviously delayed. Um, I'm curious to see what that does for them in terms of a revenue line, but yeah, that's definitely one I would be looking at if I were you. UPS, it's the holiday Christmas quarter, so um, I don't know. Feel like UPS delivers a lot of packages, a lot of packages. There's no doubt about it. Consumer spending still as high as ever this December. So love to see kind of what they're able to put up. It should be good numbers. I mean, if you look at things just logistically, obviously they've bumped pay recently too. I'm pretty sure. I think they gave everyone decent raises recently, if I'm not mistaken. So hey, we'll take a look at that. Definitely one I would, take a peek at. It's a boring stock, really, all things considered, but hey, the earnings should be good. JetBlue, I'm not gonna talk about no JetBlue. That's a little memey for me. AO Smith, we've got Marathon. Good for them. MSCI, Corning, HCA Healthcare, and Polt Group there to wrap up Tuesday morning. Then after close, we get some freaking hot dots, baby. We get a couple hot ones. Feels like just some, you got a nice pair of hot hands down in your shoes. You take them off for a second. It's a cold night. You shove them mugs back in there. Oh, baby, that's feeling hot. With Microsoft to start, that's just lovely. And why do I want to, Microsoft, one of the focus stocks. Why is it? Well, come on now. It's one of the Magnificent Seven. This thing's been going off. We look at Microsoft, and over the last year, we're seeing a 66% bump in share price. That's massive, right? There's no doubt about that. Historically, when we look at these last couple earnings, the last two earnings, they've seen the share price decline right after them. And then prior to that, the one prior, we did see a little bit of an upward movement and kind of a rocket, but overall, the trend's been very positive. So I'm definitely interested to see this. Now, you look at the stock, and we want to look at valuation here. I always do. Because you're saying you're looking at a 66% upward already. How is that stock doing that and still going to be able to have any room to go from here? Because you got to be able to maintain your valuation and make sense. Now, we're talking about a $3 trillion market cap on this one. What the F? It's massive. It's huge. It's big. But then from a PE ratio standpoint, at forward PE at 36. Kind of shocking with a market cap of that nature, right? The stock's trading massively. To see that PE ratio be 36, which, all things considered, I don't think is that bad. And here's why I don't think it's that bad. One thing I think most of you should do, because if you're like me, you look for value in the companies. What's the historical PE been for a company like this? Well, hey, if you look at Microsoft, it's actually not quite at its historical high in terms of PE. If we look at the current trailing 12-month, it's at a 39 PE. Historically, we've seen back in 2017, 2018, it was over 40. We saw it was close to these levels back in 2016. Now it is high relatively. There's no doubt. But we've also seen a big bump in terms of EPS. Trailing net EPS has really taken off. If you look over the last 4 or 5 years, it's taken off. There's a pop-up ad in the bottom left. Get that out of here. You think I can afford Norwegian Cruise Lines? I can't. That's why I'm trying to buy stocks so I can. So yeah, what are they expecting in terms of earnings? Well, hey, what's going to come into play? I do think they're going to talk about layoffs. There is no doubt. We're talking about potentially adding some additional layoffs. I know they just recently announced another wave of 1,900 that they'll be laying off at their gaming studios. So we will see what happens there. So that'll come into play. Obviously, they're looking to cut costs and help bolster that EPS line. What are they expected this quarter? 256 against 232 of a year ago. My opinion on the matter, I think the business is ultra strong. I think they hit this line. I think it's a pretty decent line. I'd say probably closer to two, let's say 270, 275 on the EPS standpoint is would be my honest estimate. That's where I think they end up. Now, from a revenue standpoint, for some reason they're not providing me kind of what the year over year looks like. Expected 56.15 billion. Now, where's that actually stack? Sorry about that. Um, well, we're looking at those lines somewhere around a high single digit growth rate. Now, if you look for the full year, they're expected at 5%. And then, we get into that argument that, it's going to be posting single digit to high single digit growth. Is it really worth a P ratio of 40? Hey, that's up to you to decide as the person purchasing. I think it will. I think they beat on this line too. I think it was a very strong spending period. We're going to see good spending in Xbox and gaming, no doubt. Gaming did very well this quarter for them. Mesmerized by the ad on the right. I think there's a lot of good things coming out of Mike Rosoft. Get back into the earnings. Who do we have next? It's AMD. Obviously, what I wanted to highlight, I just don't want to get too much tech in here. I mean, it's to be a little too much at some point, but you look at AMD, and this is a stock up several, 600% over the last 5 years. The stock won't quit. Won't quit going up. The valuation is out of this world. It's absolutely insane. It's a down year for these chip makers, but AMD continues to just go at it. My opinion, I think this happens most of the time when these chip makers report. I think there's going to be a pretty negative reaction to the earnings. I think the earnings will be actually pretty sufficient, but and they're pretty easy earnings, by the way, estimates, because we're already expected loss here from an EPS standpoint. We're expected revenue decline. I think that it's pretty easy to beat, but I think that they'll be kind of straddling the line on there, and I think the reaction will be negative to earnings. And this is a stock that moves massively on either way when you look at the reports, and a lot of that's really baked in. I'd say, usually I talk about options plays, so like this. I think a lot of that volatility, it really is baked in when you look at the Vega on these contracts for the week upcoming. Um, that implied volatility is a lot higher than you typically see it. Obviously, people know around these earnings times that the stock moves a lot. It does, in one way or the other. So, yeah, that's AMD. I think there'll be some negative reaction, though, so that's my opinion. Now, Alphabet, Google, following them. Ad rates continue to recover over the quarter. They've continued to make other, big efforts. I think the earnings are really good here on Google. Now, last quarter they plummeted on the earnings report. Just was a lot of negativity in the market at that time also. And the earnings were actually really good last quarter. Now, my opinion, I think they post another good earnings. Now, the stock has recovered quite a bit since then. Quite a bit. We're talking about 40, 50% since last earnings. Is it going to have the momentum? Well, I think that depends on a couple things. I personally believe this is one that can keep up that momentum. I don't think it's going to be, if an upward beat happens, I don't think it's one that's going to take off to the moon. Because you look at the valuations a little higher than typically. But I think if they miss, there could be one of those poor reactions again that will soon be overshadowed within the next week or two, and it'll return back to where it belongs. So I think they're good earnings. I just don't know how to play this stock on these earnings. I can't lie to you. It's one of those that last quarter just kind of shook me in terms of how the investors played it. Now, Starbucks following them. We're going to talk about growth in China. We're going to talk about store count. We're going to talk about overall profitability. We've seen some during this quarter also for them was a strike that took place from. Look, you're pouring coffee into a cup and potentially putting some creamer in there and some sugar. It is insane why they believe they need to unionize. No one's job is unsafe there at Starbucks. It's not. If you show up to work, you're going to get your job and you're going to get paid a lot of money. Starbucks pays quite a lot starting out for what you do. It's insane to me that people unionize. Well, I mean, it's not, I guess. So here's how this goes. They lure you in with, talks of Hey, we're going to get you more money. We're going to get you more of this. We're going to get you everything you could ever want. Unfortunately, folks, most of the time it's a dirty lie. There's some caveats associated, but I don't know. To me, it's just not the industry that needs it. There are some industries that certainly can benefit from unions. This one, not being one of them. It's fast food. Uh, so, anyways, that's Starbucks. I think that's going to be a big play on the earnings. I don't think that mattered too much. I mean, only a few stores I think actually got impacted during that time during their like Red Cup event. But hey, Starbucks bigger than ever. Skyworks Solution. We get back into these chip manufacturers. I guess really they make specific chips here too. That a lot of it they sell to Apple. So this is, in my opinion, always a good one to look at because you look at it and you say, well, hey, what does that mean for like Apple's earnings coming up? Because they use a lot of Skyworks chips in their iPhones. Well, hey, that's why we look at Skyworks earnings to see if the demand's there. I do think the demand is there for Apple. We'll get into that one later though. I think it's a good report from Skyworks. Juniper, Match Group. I don't know. I really didn't think Match Group was still around. Thought Farmers Only's taken over as the #1 dating site. It should. It's where you should go if you need anybody. Lending Club, Electronic Arts, EA Sports. It's in the game. That's pretty good. It's one of the worst impressions I've ever made. Look, I don't know. I hate the company. I hate everything they're doing. They teased us. They freaking lied to us about NCAA 24. They didn't release the trailer during the halftime show for the national championship game. F them. I just don't want to talk about them. They're a piece of garbage. But I will say video game spending has been up lately. CP after them. Wednesday, I did want to bring up Boeing just slightly, and you want to know why? Because they're very newsworthy as of late. You can see just year to date, the stock's already down 18%. And why? Well, we had more malfunctions with this terrible Boeing 737 MAX this time, the 9 model. The 737 MAX has just consistently been an issue since it came out. I feel like every few months there's an issue in this sense. The stock just having a rough time. And you look from a year standpoint, it's just not been great, down 2% on the year. Obviously, there's some value here, no doubt. But the stock's just been devastated, right? No doubt. And you see these finally, they just actually yesterday, finally were letting people fly again on the 737 MAX 9. If my plane was a 737 MAX 9, I wouldn't be happy with it. I'll tell you that. I would be trying to schedule another flight. I don't want to fly in that plane. Somehow the windows were just falling out of the plane. They're missing bolts, missing. It's kind of crazy. So, the door fell out on one of them. What the heck? Anyways, you look at this, and again, the earnings are abysmal, and they have been really since 2020, which is completely understandable. They shut down all travel. They shut down everything. They are expected to return to normalcy next year, which obviously could be a recovery play if you're interested in that, right? Boeing could be a recovery play. It's at a cheap valuation. Well, not really, but I mean, historically compared to where it's at, it's a cheap stock. I just don't love it here at these levels. I don't. There's too much drama going on with it. Then Wednesday, we also get Novo Nordisk. It's the dumbest name I've ever heard. Phillips 66. Get a little of that gasolina. Not a good song. Overrated. Roper Technologies. MasterCard. Oh, sorry. My apologies. I did want to bring up MasterCard here. And you want to know why? Really should have brought a drink in here. Because MasterCard, Visa kind of intertwined a little bit here. And you see Visa just reported last week. And, the numbers were pretty decent. We look at just the earnings themselves. Sorry, I must scrolled to the wrong spot. That EPS at $2.39 compared to $1.99 of a year ago did beat the estimate. And revenue rose about 9% year over year. And beat the estimates just slightly. So it was a pretty just small beat. They did beat, though. And a lot of it here you see just stem from overall total payments during January have fallen off a cliff compared to where they were in December. And it's not shocking. A lot of that, this is slowdown expected in the economy as we see prices still pretty sticky in terms of inflation. They're still a little sticky. people are starting to feel a little bit of pain, okay? So we're going to see a little bit of pullback in U.S. spending, so I'm not shocked, but it's worth looking at for MasterCard earnings. We kind of have an idea of what it's going to be, though, so let's be honest. Now we get Thermo Fisher Scientific after them. Pretty cool there. Boston Scientific. Interesting. Putting those right together. Hess. Get that Hennessy. That Hesse, as some people say. Whatever you want to say. Market Access. Hate that. Terrible name of a company. And then MI Homes. Now, after close, we get another one that produces kind of these audio codecs for iPhones is Qualcomm. So I'll be looking at that one, obviously, for a hint at Amazon, or at Apple, I should say. Corteva. Align. You know them for making the... I don't know actually what you know Align for. I don't know if you know it. But anyways, Wolfspeed. That's a good name. That's a good name. Wolves are pretty fast. Aflac. Aflac. You like that noise? That one destroyed my throat beyond belief. And I didn't even make... kind of sounded like Daffy Duck on crack. Avalon Bay. Century Communities. Next, Racker. Oh, baby. That's a little gross. MetLife. More insurance. And then Meritage Home. I don't really care about you. Thursday before open, we've got Altria. Smoking a little bit of that ganja with Altria. I don't mess with that stock. It's an absolute piece of trash. Royal Caribbean Group. Definitely kind of the first introduction for the quarter, for the earnings season when looking into these cruise ship stocks, really these like expedition excursion stocks, which have been performing very well this quarter. So we'll see if they're able to put up good numbers. The demand was pretty high from the numbers I've seen, so we'll see. Peloton, screw Peloton, could care less about them, piece of garbage. Enterprise Products Partners, Merck, make a lot of drugs, folks, a lot of drugs. SiriusXM, Cardinal Health, Honeywell, they make a lot of different stuff, and that's one of those, man, they're boring as crap. They're like Phillips, just boring. Tractor Supply Company. Hey, speaking of, it's Stanley Black & Decker. Now, I will say, it's a little more exciting than some of those boring stocks. You want to know why? Because the Stanley craze. That could be something they talk about, is these Stanley Cups selling like hotcakes for Christmas. Everyone bought one for their significant other. For women, obviously. Women got them. The men kind of got the thermos style Stanley, which it's a great model. But women want the one with the handle, you know the one. You know the one. You got your significant female friend other. What did I just say? Your significant other who's a female. You got her one of those Stanleys. After close, we get Apple. Believe it or not, Apple's not one of my focus. You want to know why? Because we've been chatting so long. I don't want to go too crazy. Man, Apple's just been chilling around 180, 190 almost this entire quarter, it feels like. Just not a lot of progression forward. And you want to know why? I think we've seen a lot, and it happens every quarter. I talk about it every quarter. All that people care about with Apple right now is iPhone numbers. It's all they care about. I understand it's a big portion of the company. It's the majority of the portion of the company. But the numbers are gonna be good. They are every time. They're always good. People are always gonna upgrade to the iPhone every single year. You want to know why? Because they want to stay eternally poor, and Apple has them in their clutches. So that's what's going to happen. I like the report here. Here's what's going to happen. I'll say it every time. I know Apple earnings like the back of my hand. Wearables, I think, are going to be down in terms of sales this quarter. Mac, obviously, there's going to be a continued downward movement in terms of Mac. Services, upward movement, no doubt. We've seen a lot of growth in terms of not only just Apple Music, but stuff like Apple TV Plus. They're adding new exclusives on there. I think Apple TV Plus services and just, like I should say, the services in general will be doing well. Apple Arcade, I mean, again, they've got a ton of services. The numbers are going to be up, and I think iPhone sales, no doubt, will be up as well. Obviously, average selling price up a little bit too, but hey, I think models sold will be doing great numbers. So Amazon following them also got plummeted last earnings after a fantastic report, by the way, last earnings. Just got screwed by the whole market just tanking for whatever reason. Just was annoying. Sentiment just disappeared out of nowhere. Amazon, I think they're going to put fantastic numbers again. It's the Christmas quarter for them. A lot of stuff sold on Amazon. I think the numbers are going to be out of this world. They're going to beat from an EPS standpoint. They're going to beat from a revenue standpoint. The revenue standpoint, I would say they beat by, let's say, I'd say it's probably just shy of $1 billion. I'm going to put right around 880 million. Would be my guess. I think this report's going to be very good for Amazon. Now, Meta is one I did want to focus on. That's right. You want to know why I want to focus on Meta? This stock is up 168% in the last year. And you want to know why? Because I told you to buy it this whole time. If you didn't buy it, you're freaking stupid. I've been telling you this whole time to buy Meta. I also thought this would be $400 by the end of this year, not right now in January. So hey, adjusted price target, it's going to be 450, okay? I'm just saying, by the end of the year, it's 450. This thing is an absolute beast. And you want to know what's going on here? You ask me, because we kind of did this with Microsoft, how is this stock going up 168%? How is there more room to grow? And you want to know why? It's because the company's absolutely unrivaled ability to grow the bottom line, to absolutely grow net income, to boost revenue, to do it all. The way they print cash is unheard of, in my opinion. It's unmatched, unrivaled. So we'll do the same test here. Let's look from a P/E ratio standpoint. Right now, trading around a 36 PE after going up 168%. By the way, that's how underpriced the stock was. It's trading at a what? Get that out of here. A PE ratio of 30. That's right. You heard me say it. 36. Let's look since 2014. It's arguably never been this low, except for when it dipped last year. When it dipped last year, it was trading at a 12 PE. But if you look historically at this PE ratio of 34, it's been trading around this level forever. It used to trade a lot higher back in 2015, 2016. So it's not trading at a high PE ratio, in my opinion. It's not. For the growth you get, I don't think this is trading at a high PE ratio, despite a growth of 168%. And the reason why I don't think it's trading at high is because from a forward perspective, it's looking even better. We look at the expected earnings, and they're continuing to grow massively. The estimate this quarter, 453 against 176 of a year ago. Are you kidding me? The total year is expected to be $13.21 versus $8.59 of a year ago. You're talking about growing the EPS line by about 70%. It's unheard of. The way, and I've seen it in action, they're doing it. They're actively doing it. They're growing the bottom line. They're growing the net income, free cash flow. They're growing it. And how do they do it? Well, first off, they grow revenue. And we see that here. Expected 35.9 billion in revenue. That's up 11% year over year. For the full year, expected to grow 5%. I think this number will obviously be higher because this quarter is going to be better than this, right? Obviously, in my opinion, this is a $37 billion quarter. We've seen ad rates continue to grow massively in the quarter. I think it's a $37 billion quarter. They're going to beat by $1 billion. EPS is going to pull these numbers. I'll just tell you that right now. It is the year of efficiency last year. Into this year, they've really worked on that efficiency, and they have absolutely just nailed it. They've I don't know. They're just doing incredible things. You know, I'm a big fanboy of Meta. Obviously, they've made me thousands and thousands of dollars, so I'm happy about that. But look, I look at Meta, and I think this thing it's still at a good price. I'm not selling any. I won't do it. I can't make myself do it. So now that I'm done, doing a little bit of dirty service to Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, he's gonna send me some money after this one, hopefully. We get Atlassian and then United States Steel X, baby. The Clorox Company, talk about boring. Skechers, talk about boring as well. Who the F wears Skechers? Who the F wears Skechers? Decker's Brands, never heard of them. Orchid Island. Microchip, that doesn't even make sense. I mean, well, how do you name your company just Microchip? It's like Lay's just taking off Lay's and just being named Potato Chip. It's just the dumbest thing ever, is what I'm trying to tell you. And then Friday, we get some of these Earl companies. Big Earl right here. ExxonMobil, Chevron, to name a few. Something like LeBron when he was naming. What the heck was he naming? Was he naming quarterbacks? I can't remember, but he was pretending that he knew football. I think he was naming quarterbacks, and then he hit him with the. He was looking at a list on the side. He clearly was Googling. Um, what was he Googling? Was it football or was it not? Anyways, look, LeBron was cheating. He doesn't know football. Bristol Myers Squibb following them, then AbbVie, some biopharma, Cigna, get more health, Regeneron, more biopharma, baby. Charter Communications, an absolute piece of garbage. SIBO, I don't really care about you. Aon and Granger. Ladies and gentlemen, the throat's destroyed. And Patrick Mahomes is here. It's Patrick. Have a good one. Bye. I'm gonna hit the wrong key every time. It's just what I do, and now I gotta panic and find my mouse, and then click out of this, and then I bid you a farewell.